Hello, my name is Ed Stanley. I've been in the carpentry trade for over 40 years. My specialty is in concrete forming. Today's date, June the 17th, 2018. Today's topic is the hardware used in concrete wall forming. Within this, we'll be discussing the hardware application, its terminology, and what is required for safety. These are the most commonly types of hardware used on a concrete wall project. Here what I have is a John A. bracket, or on a job site can be called a cowbell. Maybe that's why we call it a cowbell. Here is an AMI wedge clamp, which is also called on a job site a hairpin. Whaler brackets, which we call also on a job site fingers. A corner bracket, a turnbuckle, a form aligner, and these are snap ties. They come in various sizes for wall thicknesses. Also, the ends come in either long or short. In some cases, we might have to extend a tie. On the short ones, we have a John A. extender. Okay, and these are also called on a job site chicken feet. They incorporate like that inside the John A. extender and thus creating a long tie. And I'll explain to these once we get on to our project. Before we get started, safety first. Let's start with my clothing attire. Work boots, steel toes, a steel shank at the bottom of the sole protecting from nails puncturing through my boot. Heavy duty clothing, long sleeve shirt, gloves to protect my hands, a vest, safety vest, reflecting tape, high visible among equipment that might be around me on a job site, safety glasses, side shields, ANSI approval, and of course, wouldn't go anywhere without my hard hat. To demonstrate the hardware that we discussed, I built two mock-ups, a single whaler and a double whaler wall form. Let's begin with the single whaler wall and how the hardware is applied. As I said earlier, a snap tie comes in various sizes. The cone determines the thickness of that wall. It acts as a spreader, and with the hardware, acts as a holder to keep the form in place. In this case, a John A. bracket is used, as we can see here, on a John A. or a cowbell, giving us enough room with clearance for anywhere between 5/8 or 3/4 of a plywood, more standard. As we can see here, it's used and how it's applied. We would poke in on the opposite side a snap tie. The cone is bearing up against the plywood. On the opposite side, our cowbell or our John A. bracket is slid into the grooves. As the tie comes through, the cowbell is set in it. The hardware snaps around the tie, thus the coupling cap keeps the snap tie in place. And in this case, keeping the wall thickness at 8 inches. Outside a cone to outside a cone. Hardware applied on the opposite side here with the John A. bracket, and a 2x4 held in place, a horizontal 2x4, which is known as a whaler. The next piece of hardware used on a single whaler John A. wall is the AMI wedge, or the hairpin, also commonly used name on the job site. To install that, as you can see right here, is what we call strong back. Two vertical 2x4s, 3.5 inches in thickness, using with the AMI wedge to tighten them up, thus creating this wall to be nice and strong, vertical, and there will be no bows in it. The horizontal wailers straightens up the plywood to be vertically straight. And applying that, once again, with two 2x4s, on either side, if you notice on the lawn ties, perfectly designed for what we call the strong-back use. The Army wedge or the hairpin, thus, is installed by inserting over through the tie, and with the small snug up with the hammer. Now, if you notice, also, there's little holes drilled into this hardware. The idea of those little holes is to install a nail. Just enough just to hold that from vibrating loose. Because when this concrete wall is being poured with concrete, they consolidate the concrete by a vibrator, which is dropped down into the form. As it vibrates the panel, these can get loose and vibrate up. So a nail in the little holes on the wedge clamp or the hairpins, they do the job of keeping that steady. Our next concrete application is our turnbuckle form aligner. What this does, as you can see installed on a 2x4, has holes at the bottom where it can be nailed down to the floor, nailing to the strong back, and pushing outward or inward, aligning the wall up to be perfectly plumb, using a level as I would demonstrate. Okay, now in order to plumb the wall vertical, I must install a turnbuckle. In order to do that, the turnbuckle is equipped with holes to carry a 16 duplex nail. Duplexes are made to be able to pull out a lot easier with the head sticking up, so the hammer can be able to get with the claw and pull out. Now, installing a few nails and making sure I have enough room to either push out with the turnbuckle or pull in. So I have a nice clearance area in between, so you can see there. Installing it on my strong back, and once again, a 16 duplex nail will be appropriate. I'll nail it to the strong back first. Usually about 2 to 3 nails would be sufficient for a 16 duplex. And now I'll secure the turnbuckle to the floor. Oops. But again with the 16 duplex. So, once the turnbuckle is nailed to the floor and the strong back, I now can get a 4-foot level and proceed to plumb the wall. Looks like I gotta bring the wall in a little bit. Another quick check. Okay, the next hardware I would like to show you on a single wailer or a double wailer wall, John A wall, is a John A snap tie extender. As you can see, this tie is inserted in here, leaving an opportunity for a nail to go through, bent And the tie itself now can be extended from a short tie, which only a cowbell